an impromptu live session where I am to talk about today about a hobby of mine. This hobby is I am a dungeon master, but also a player in Dungeons and Dragons role-playing game. So I've been playing role-playing games since I was a teenager, so it has been a few decades. And today I want to talk a little bit about the creative process in making adventure for my players. I will tell you about how I go about getting inspiration, and how I can use Fiverr to obtain voiceovers to give to my players, and other art, digital art, which can be handed out to the players. And also give a little tour about in Wonderdraft, which is a map drawing program, the one you're looking at the screen right now. And and to sort of link all this together in regards to the creative process, hopefully. So yesterday I tried to do a similar live sending, but for some reason the microphone didn't record my voice. So I'll try again today. Hopefully I will not push the button that mutes the microphone. So I would like to start with the creative process in general. I also have a lot of time spent on photography, but also other creative processes. And I think it's when you are a dungeon master, you will always try to create something that is hopefully for the players fun and original. And I have found that when you work in a different field in a creative way, this sort of bleeds into other activities that you have. You sort of start to think creatively in other fields as well. And since being a dungeon master and participating as a player in role-playing games is a creative process, I sometimes think that working with photography and film also gives you this kind of feedback loop, if you like, in regards to making adventure games. So I can start by first talking about how I sort of begin with setting up a adventure. As I have, of course, I can try to find and show you a document which sort of gives you the idea of the different storylines that are going on if in my world. So I haven't pulled this yet out, so I have to go into the Google Docs and find it. And if you are one of my players, please look away. So when I can show you these things here, books. These are my notebooks, which I note down. Let me see all my ideas and also plot out storyline and descriptions of non-play characters. Non-play characters are sort of the people the players meet in my world. I have what you call a homebrew campaign. That is, homebrew means that I have created the world in a way, and I made the nations and the cultures, or sort of sketched out how the world looks like, and I fill it with people, with organizations, with cities, and this is sort of my notes from a couple of years now. I tried to do something different than my previous campaign, which was all digital. I wrote everything down in a Word document and took it from there. So a friend of mine who is a very good TM, he says that he used to write in a book instead by hand. So I started to do the same here. So it's sort of notes from which gives ideas about what kind of adventures, what kind of items, magical items or important items the players are supposed to maybe they're out on a adventure to find a particular armor, magical armor. So in these books I write down all my ideas I have to like I make maps and create descriptions, and so I use this kind of analog format to write, and it's just a nice process, I think, to sit down and sketch down ideas you have. But I'll try to find this other document which sort of gives you an idea of how far I've taken my the plots of my campaign. So let me see here if I can find it. I have a lot of files on my Google Docs, and of course I can't find it right now. Oh, maybe there. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. I think this one is okay. Let's see if we can make this work now. So now I have you will see on the screen, and if you are a player in my campaign, please look away. This is an overview of all the plots that are going on in my campaign. People, organizations that work primarily against the players, but also for the players, but mostly against them. So different assassin guilds, spy organizations, even a mind flayer is in here. So if you're so this is just to make you have a look at how you can work digitally, and it's much easier to work in this kind of document where you sort of plot out all the different players, if you like, in this game. So I have more details on these characters and the adventures and the organizations in those books. So I just written down the names, but the arrows sort of indicate the relationship between these different people and organizations. And the further away you are from, let's see, for instance, you have some really distant non-play characters, powerful non-play characters, a sorcerer, and a necromancer. Sorry, necromancer. She is located far away from the players on a different continent, but still she has ability to influence or negatively the life of the play characters through her henchmen, through her secret organizations, and maybe she's pulling a favor from organizations closer to the players. Maybe she's interested in some sort of information, and so this lets me sort of map out the different relationships, and I can, when the players sort of engage with one of the groups, maybe they discover a clue to where there's another link, another relationship that they didn't know about. So this is really fun to make, sort of sketch out, to sit down and who maybe is plotting against the players, and who are they allied with, and so on. So back to the creative process. It's the creative process. Fiverr. I use Fiverr a lot to I write. Maybe I have a character who's introducing herself or himself to the players, and I could, of course, take the first moments of them meeting her or him, and sort of role play the character. But sometimes I go to Fiverr and I search for voiceover talent, and I can write a short manuscript and pay a few dollars and have them read in the dialogue, the manuscript. So I can take that recording and maybe add some sound effects, some reverb, other kinds of effects, music, and this file I can upload to SoundCloud and give the link to the players when I say, okay, you come into the room, you face a man who is standing in front of you. He's dressed in a black robe with silver trimmings. He slowly turns against you and opens his hands towards you and says, and then I can give them the link and they can listen to the voiceover. And this, I think, gives a little bit of creates a little bit of more of layer, if you like, of believability, and also, of course, spices up the session a bit, because you have someone else coming in and actually reading lines, professional artist. So I've been using Fiverr. It's very easy. It's just make an account there, and you can, on Fiverr, you can order any kind of digital service. So it's a very easy website to navigate. And I search for voiceover talent, and so I search for a man or woman, age, accent, and send them a request. Would you like to do a voiceover for my role-playing game? And they say yes, and we talk about price, and I send them the manuscript, and I pay them, and I get the voice file after a couple of days. So one guy I used, the last time I used Fiverr, I used Tim Stevenson, and he has a great voice, wizard voice. But you can, of course, use it as a voiceover in general, if you like. So he has this very good voice that sort of gives gravitas when you listen to him. So I have used him for a very long exposition. Last time my players they were out with their characters and were digging for information in regards to ancient curse. So they have sort of tracked down a monastery, and in this monastery the monks at this place have been collecting stories and books and all sort of materials related to the history of the world which they are in. And this player, this monk they met, he was able to find information for them. And instead of me giving the players a Word file or a text with the information, I had him read the lines. So I can play some seconds of it. Let me see here. No, that was wrong one. Sorry. There you go.
The history of the Desert Empire is a difficult topic. Very little is written down apart from the odd book or two that was abroad before the disaster. Magical far-seeing is impossible because of the curse, and physically exploring the ancient empire is...
So he is giving a very long exposition, 4 minutes. That's very long for a voice file. I usually tend to keep it down to 1 minute or so, because it gets boring after a few minutes if they have to listen to all this exposition. So anyway, so what I did is I took his voice. I was sent a WAV file. I put the WAV file into Adobe Audition, and then added some background music and also some sound effects to sort of certain moments of his story when he's retelling about this curse. I inserted some sound effects to make it sort of more interesting.
Or lethal, as you are dead within a day when you enter fertility. But a Hatsunu was the god of death. Maybe a Hatsunu saw something in a river god that she could never attain: life and creation of life. Amarazan lost all her worshippers during that terrible night.
So the scream you were hearing there was the scream of a goddess driven mad by grief. All her followers had been slaughtered by this curse, and because in my world the power of the god is equal to the number of followers, since all her followers were gone, she was just a shadow, and she was floating as this shadow in this temple they built to her. But since nobody was there anymore, she was completely alone. She was just like a pale shadow, slowly drifting in the hallway of this temple, shrieking with grief. So I used a scream I downloaded from a site which I subscribes to, which can give you unlimited access to all sorts of media files, including sound effects and music. So I took this scream and did a little bit of trickery in it with Adobe Audition to make it sound a little bit more ghostly and out of this world. So this is one way of giving out handouts to the players. I also make maps in a program called Wonderdraft, which is the last thing I will show you now. So if I can try to get Broadcaster to work with me today, let me see. I will now take away this, and there we go. This is Wonderdraft, and Wonderdraft is a mapping program. It is it's not expensive. I think it's $25 or $30, and you got a sort of it's a bitmap based map making program, which means that if you zoom in close enough, you will see the pixels. But it's for me, I think this bitmap is more, for me, easier to use when you make maps than using a vector-based program. And also, the creator of the program has been said he has been influenced by the interface in Photoshop. So when you work with Wonderdraft, it's a couple of things sort of the same as in Photoshop. So if you have been using Photoshop, I think Wonderdraft is a great program if you're interested in making maps. So this is a map of a region of the world where you have a lot of Vikings. So I have been using Google Maps to steal all the names. I've been looking at an island or a fjord or something that I think I can sort of relate the name to the same kind of geographical feature in this map. So you have here, for instance, Isafjordur. And if you're Norwegian, you know that Fjordur sounds very close to the Norwegian name for fjords, which is fjord. So Isafjordur, I think it must mean is some kind of fjord. So I just used Google Maps and went to a place on the most desolate place on the island, zoomed really close into the map. I just took the names from Google Maps and used it to create these sort of Icelandic names. So this is the region. This is not where my players are right now. I can show you the map where they are supposed to be. So let me see. Yeah, I think this is the one. So this is a map that I'm working on right now. And it's loading symbols. You can add symbols. You see, I will show you how you do that. Hopefully it doesn't crash now. So Wonderdraft is, I think it's a very easy program to use, and you can also make detail maps. So if you make a world map, you can later on when you finish with the world map, you can take out, zoom into regions and make a separate map based on the zoom in detail map you like. So you can make world map, then make different smaller maps of the place. So you sort of have, you can make different zoom level maps if you like. So let me see, it took a long time this time. I don't know what's happening, but I think it's streaming at the same time, so my computer is maybe struggling a bit. I can hear the fans in the PC going very high. Okay, so what you see now is, let me take away the overlay. The overlay is, you can take, if you had hand drawn the map from before, you can scan it or take a picture, and you can import it into Wonderdraft and work on top of it. So this is what I'm doing here. I had an old version of this map. So here I've been working on creating this desert empire. So all the colors you see here are just regional regions on the map. So I'll take away that. No, I'll take away regions. And now you can see the map without the different regions. So this is the map that my players will be having to sort of start with. They will begin in a big city and or the ruins of a big city, and then they have this entire place to explore and to find the persons or the item or follow the quest which I'm supposed to give, are going to give them on some later time. So I can show you the last thing before I end for today is the biggest map I have. Let me see. Oh, I will show you also Roll20, and this will be the last thing I do before I let me see here. It's still working. And hopefully the sound works this time. Okay, here we go. So this is the biggest map I've made for my campaign. So this is a large continent, and my players are way down here in this sort of very heavily Japanese inspired empire. And if you sort of imagine the size of these islands are similar to the size of Japan today, you can understand that this is a very big continent. And this map also is like just maybe 1/6 of the total land area, so the much more. So it's a very big planet that my players are on. It's 10 times the size of the Earth, and don't ask me about gravity and all that physics stuff. So yeah, so I've been sort of slowly building in details on this map, making mountain ranges, rivers, and all the features, and sort of try to, be creative and create my own sort of thing in a way. But it's unavoidable. I was talking yesterday about comparing making a fantasy world to making a salad. I don't know if that's a proper analogy, but anyway, when you make a salad, sometimes you make a salad and it's boring because you take ingredients which you know, and when you make the salad, you sort of recognize the different parts of the salad. And I think my campaign is sort of there. We have some parts of it which is heavily influenced or have stolen from the real world or other fantasy settings. And then you have sort of the other side of the salad, when you make a new salad and it tastes fantastic and wow, I've never had this kind of salad before. And that's a fantasy world where you sort of have fresh new ideas and everything is spicy and it's you remember it for a long time afterwards. So that's my ideal sort of salad fantasy world. So I think I'm at the lower bottom of being a boring, but because I've so obviously stolen from other places. But again, this or what I can say is that this fantasy map is based on something I made maybe 20 years ago, and I don't know, maybe my imagination was a bit cliched at that time. I don't know. Anyway, it's fun to make these maps, and before I move on to Roll20, before I bore you all to death, I can sort of show you how we work with this program, which is probably why some of you are here. So on your left-hand side, you have sort of sub-menus we can click on, for instance, symbols. Let's see if we can get this to work. And on symbols, you can click on the city symbols, and you have, let's give it a few seconds here, because it's really, okay, there you go. And you can choose from, if you move your eyes to the right side, you see on the right side, it popped up a selection of symbols which I can place into the map. So I can, for instance, let me see here, pick some buildings. Let's place some buildings here, and we can place some houses. So you see here it's very big because this is a content map. So I can go up to Caracas, which is a country inspired by Serbia actually. And you have also in Caracas, you also have empires, so it's a fun place to be. Serbian vampires. So when I'm in Wonderdraft, I will choose the building. I can use the mouse wheel to select the size, and I can use the Alt button to switch from one side to other. So I can sort of have one house here and one house there. I can also hold into shift key, and I can choose, or I can toggle, or I can sort of stroll through the different symbols. I can make a little village there if I like so. Let's do this, and we can see if we find something more fun. And here we have where the poor people lives. Yeah, so this is how you can put symbols, and it's the same for, you have trees, you have mountains, and you can paint them if you like, and you can move them about, and so you have a lot of options. So I can show you one more map. This one is of a region where the players started. So this is a place where the players have been a lot. And the one thing from this map is that it was a lot of trees. So you can see here I have I've not individually placed all these trees. There's maybe a couple of thousands of trees, but I have sort of use a brush, and you can brush in the trees, 5 or 10 trees at a time. So I just brush in the trees to sort of give an idea of where it is forest. So this is a big map with a lot of small details. So I also have some a few Easter eggs. For instance, here is if you zoom enough far into the map, you will see this detail, which is an entrance to a cave. So a few sort of clues hidden in the map, so my players can, if they're really, and they do, when players get a map, they tend to zoom into everything. So I tend to use these kind of small details to give a hint to the players to where they can go next time to find adventure. So, and then I will show you Roll20. Let me see. Roll20. So Roll20 is online or online tabletop role-playing game platform. In Roll20 I can make an account, start a game, import maps. I can buy books, and these books contains monster descriptions, and I can put these monsters individually into the map. So I can, for instance, here this was the scene of a house where the players found a vampire den, and you see the X over the symbol, and that's one of the vampires spawned that my players killed. The actual vampires, they were not there. They had gone to somewhere else. They were not at the house when the players attacked. So and this you can see here, it's when you buy a product on Roll20, for instance a monster manual, you get all these pictures and description of the, oh, this was a vampire troll. So you get all you need to sort of run a combat, an encounter, where the players have their characters. Let me see if I can find one of the players' character sheets. And let me see here, I can pick up Masuru. He has a character sheet. No, he hasn't filled it in. Okay, let's pick Longyang. Longyang is the name of one of the characters that one of my players have, and he has sort of in his character sheet you can see everything, the abilities he needs to sort of play in Dungeons and Dragons. And if you, I will not do a complete walkthrough of Dungeons and Dragons, but so you can see it's so we use I use Roll20 to set up the campaign and let my players have fun, and so I think I had some sort of idea to what the point of all this was, but anyway, that was one of my hobbies, and I think it's important that you have, not important as you must, but I think it's important for your creativity that you sort of do these kind of things, because it's sort of the creativity sort of bleeds into other fields in your life also. So, and also of course it's a fun activity to do. So I really recommend finding some friends who play Dungeons and Dragons and get together. And it's very easy today, and it's until the pandemic is over, this is a very good way to meet your friends and have a good time with them. So yeah, my friends have been playing this for like since 2014. We've been playing in Roll20. So for us, it's almost every Friday we meet at 9 o'clock and we have some few beers and talk about how life is going, and then we play some Dungeons and Dragons. And I hope you also find something similar to do sometime. So